Hey babes, welcome to Stoned and Horny, the podcast all about exploring and expanding your knowledge in sex and cannabis with experts and friends. I'm your host, Hayley Herms, and today we're talking about how to achieve powerful and multiple orgasms, the former nun who helps you come, and Lavinia lube with our special guest and entrepreneur and former almost nun, Katie Enright. So let's get to it. I'm excited. I'm so excited to have you here. We were talking before we even started filming, and I was like, oh, this is going to be great. I can already tell. You have just so much knowledge. I'm sure we could talk for more than 45 minutes, but we're going to try to get everything we can out before that. So before we go into multiple and powerful orgasms, let's hear your story because it's kind of insane. You were studying to be a nun. And I grew up super Catholic. So that means chastity. That means virginity. That means nothing. I do have a question. Can you masturbate as a nun? Or is that controversial?
You're probably not supposed to. That's actually a really good question.
Okay.
I think probably not. I'm going to go ahead and say probably not. But I'm not sure. That's something that I should look into.
Did you and the other studying nuns get around ever and talk about virginity and chastity?
No, you know what's so interesting is nuns are some of the coolest people you'll ever meet. Honestly, you kind of have this stereotype in your head of a nun, and she's very difficult to talk to, somebody that you wouldn't want to associate with, and some of that is true, right? If you go to Catholic school, you may be taught by a nun,
yes.
And it's
when we would go to the nun convents, there was some bad bitch nuns.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
They were badass.
Yes.
You wouldn't fuck around with the nuns because they looked like they'd kick your ass.
Yeah.
But then when you'd have just one or two at the school, it was very sweet and precious and stuff. But no,
yeah.
You go to the convent and
and they're allowed to drink. So that's where the nuns and the priests go a little crazy. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So a lot of nuns, the nuns that I've met have been really inspirational, kind of wild, very pro-woman, they understand kind of all of the challenges and trials that we go through in life. And they're pretty open-minded people from my experience, right?
Because they may be nuns, but they're still women.
They're still women, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting. So my sister actually does driving tests for nuns.
Shut up.
She's a safety inspector, and so she'll go into a convent and she'll make sure kind of take away their license if they can't drive anymore.
That's hilarious.
But it's super hilarious. But she was talking to one nun and she asked about abortion, and the nun was totally pro-choice, which I thought was super interesting.
Wow.
Because that's not the church's stance on it. But the nun was I'm always whatever is best for the woman. I think that women have it so hard, and if that's what's the best choice for the woman, that's what I support. And I was dumbfounded, right?
Wow. Especially a woman who's never had sex.
Yeah. Well, who knows? Maybe she has.
Yes.
And then
you can have sex and then become a nun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you can also probably make mistakes and then say, whoopsie doopsie, I shouldn't have done that.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. Maybe. I didn't take them out.
You're telling on the nuns. It's okay. It's okay. Can they smoke weed?
Some, yeah. So cannabis is very controversial because I have done a ton of research, and there's actual biblical references to the word cannabis in the Bible.
Okay.
And cannabis has been around for thousands of years. Really, it just, in the 30s, it became, where there was a rebranding where they started calling it marijuana.
What
doctors.
was it called before that? Just cannabis?
Cannabis, exactly. Okay. So doctors used to prescribe cannabis literally, they used to use tinctures. The problem is they didn't have the technology at that time to understand how much THC and how much CBD was in each tincture. Yes. And anyone who's overdosed knows that it's a miserable experience to overdose. When you can't move your arms, it is not fun.
No, you're paralyzed.
And it's terrible. It's terrifying. It's, you get the spins. Overconsumption is really awful. And so that's why doctors started prescribing pharmaceutical drugs, is because they were able to actually properly dose. Yeah, and so that's so funny that this has been around forever. It was accepted by doctors being prescribed, and now it's criminalized. And
yeah, My grandma used to tell me, she'd be like, I'm telling you, Hayley, the Bible was written on shrooms. Like if you read this, she's like, the 10 Commandments, Moses, or I think it was Moses, was like, he was on shrooms, he was shrooming. And I was like, Grandma, because she was like very conservative. And I was like very surprised that she's like telling me the Bible was written on shrooms at such a young age. But definitely I remember there was reference to things that you're like, now when you're older, you're like, oh, that was weed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, and it makes sense too, right? Like it grows naturally in the ground. Like if anything, it's really a gift from God, both shrooms and cannabis and a whole host of other things that have a psychoactive effect. Like that's beautiful. That's God giving you like a little bit of relief from your day or a different way to process a thought or like to think a different way. I just think it's so beautiful and really like, I love cannabis so much. I think it's just a really amazing plant. I'm so happy to be in this industry.
Agreed.
So amazing.
Okay, so we jumped a little ahead. So how did you get to studying to be a nun?
So I was in college and I was like at this small private liberal arts school in the west suburbs of Chicago. And I was the social chair or the co-social chair for my sorority, right?
Okay.
So I was in charge of planning all of these parties and being a nun was very...
trendy?
No, weird. I was going to say the opposite of trendy. Like no one did it. No one talked about it. And so I felt really uncomfortable kind of even talking to people about it. I studied theology. That was like my major. Then I transitioned it to my minor. But so I wanted to go, my heritage is Irish. Okay. So I wanted to go to Ireland to study abroad to kind of really, truly explore like what actually taking that vow would mean and what becoming a nun would actually mean and what my life would look like. Wow. And so I was randomly assigned to live in a house with 4 girls and 4 guys. And one of the guys was a Belgian knight named Francois. Ooh. And he was super hot.
Okay. So immediately you're like, I'm going to be a nun. And then you're thrown into a house with a really hot man.
Yeah, exactly.
Love that for you.
I mean,
kind of hate that for you.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it really caused me to question a lot. Because also European men are built different than American men. Like they treat you better. So much better. I mean, I don't mean to be a hater on American men because I also love American men.
No, we like a woman who can take a stance. Okay.
So I'll explain what he did and then you can have all the facts and tell me if you think that's better treatment. But he used to make me breakfast in bed every morning. Oh. And I mean, I was going to be a nun, so like I wouldn't even sleep in the same bed as him. Also, they were like tiny beds, so you couldn't really. He would knock on my door every morning and say, "Little Katie, it is time to get up." And he would bring a tray of breakfast. He would go to the store every day to get fresh ingredients and make lunch and dinner for us. And then every night he would write me a love letter.
I love that. One time for my birthday, my ex was like, oh, what do you want? And I was like, I literally just want you to write me a little love poem every day up until my birthday because it's the 22nd. And I was like 22 little love poems. I was like, it's free, no money. He's like, no, I don't want to do it. Like, would not do it. And he would rather have dropped like bills on like material items, and all I wanted was poems.
Hence
so that's
him being an ex.
Exactly.
This is why
exactly.
He is an
Get
ex.
you a Francois, okay? Okay. So that, oh my God, I almost got a tear in my eye. So Francois was like, "Here you go."
Well, so Francois had a girlfriend when we first met.
Oh shit.
And Francois was European men again are a little bit different where it was like his style of clothes, like I didn't quite get because it was just so different than American.
Was it giving like metro?
Yeah,
like
tight jeans,
like, maybe he's gay.
pop in the collar. They wear collared shirts, but they pop the collar up, which I thought was super weird. But it's oopsie doopsie. But the thing is like because we lived together, we really had the opportunity to get to know each other. Like, I think if we just met as like a once-off in a class, we would have been like, we were just too different. But because we lived together, we were able to like really get to know each other. And then him and his girlfriend broke up. Ooh. And then
Did she live in the house?
Thankfully, no. That would have been really awkward.
Damn drama. And what was he doing in the house? Were you all studying for life?
He was studying abroad. Yeah, okay. So we were all studying abroad. I was the only one that was really doing like a discernment situation.
Got it.
And then basically I decided to do like my ultimate discernment in Rome, because it's like it really normalizes priests and nuns. Like you just walk to the gas station and you see them everywhere, and that's kind of super fun. And so I flew to Rome, and it was in the Sistine Chapel, like praying in the chapel, and then I feel like I received like I felt like, I heard. I really wanted to become a nun because I felt like not enough people were becoming nuns, and I felt like they were going to all die off, and then I was like, our religion was going to die off.
And how old were you at this time?
This is like 21.
Okay. Wow.
So, yeah.
That's a lot to take on. Yeah. And did you have a super religious background?
Yeah, totally. So I grew up in like, I'm the 6 of 7 kids. I grew up in a really religious household.
Okay.
But, and everybody kind of has a judgment or a stereotype with that. Like my religious upbringing was actually really lovely. Like it wasn't, my parents are pretty amazing people. They're really full of love and joy. And I didn't have to experience a lot of like the hate or a lot of like the negative sides of growing up super religious that some people grow up.
It was crazy for me. It wasn't so much the church itself, but I was growing up in a really abusive household. So like my dad would like beat the shit out of me. And so by like around seventh grade, I was like, God can't exist, because why would he want this to happen to me? And I'd pray and pray like my whole like little life. And then by like 7th grade, I like gave up. And then that caused me to go like search on the internet. I was like about Buddhism, about Satanism. Like I went and searched of like, I don't know, I still believed in something because it, like I said, it wasn't the religion per se. It was what was happening in my home. And I went to Catholic school and I went to church, and I didn't really have those negative feelings until like I got older and like high school, and I was like, this can't be real. But then I found Buddhism and I was like, oh my God, this is beautiful. Like I love this. My mom was like, okay, you can study it and stuff, but just don't talk about it at school. And I was like, deal. So I did that.
Catholic school, don't talk about it.
Yeah, don't tell people you're looking into Buddhism. Like you're almost in 8th grade and gonna graduate soon. Just like shut up. So I was like, okay, great, I can do that. And then by high school, I was like, what does Satanism have to offer me? So like looked into that and was like, okay, that's interesting, but I don't feel it as much as Buddhism. Then I looked into Hinduism. Like I really just like, it caused me to explore. And I thought that in itself was really beautiful. I did remember going to Catholic school though, and there was this one girl who was like teacher's favorite, ass kisser of the century, because she wanted to be a nun, and everyone was so proud of like everything she did, 'cause she's gonna be a nun one day. Like she's this, so like I feel like she got special treatment just because she was like, I'm gonna be a nun. And
did she become a nun? Do you know what happened to her?
I don't know.
I so badly want to look her up on Facebook right now and be like, what is she doing?
I could probably pop out a yearbook and like just like in my head I see her face, but I can't remember her name.
I wonder if she makes a sexual lubricant now, or is like a sex worker.
Exactly right. I don't think so. I think she'd get too much shame where we grew up, but maybe I'll look it up and let you guys know another episode. Or by the time this comes out, I'll comment it or something. We'll see.
That's so fun.
But anyway, so back to you. So you were going through this whole thing in Ireland with Francois. So he breaks up with his girlfriend. Yep. Then what?
Yep. So then we just kind of started dating. Oh, so then he drove down to Rome and met me in Rome. And, because I kind of, so it was praying in the Sistine Chapel, felt that God told me like, hey, that's not your burden. If you want to get married, if you want to have kids, like whatever you want to do, you should follow what your passion is and what you want your path to be. And so then Francois came and met me. He drove from Belgium to Rome, and then he met me, and we drove all throughout Italy together, and we went to like all of the places. And what's so funny is like, I don't know if this is still how it works, or if it was just because I was so poor that like we would like hotels would be per person, not per room.
Okay.
Which I don't
like
know
a
if that's
hostel type situation?
Maybe it was like that. That's why, is because it was like one step above a hostel, or it was a hostel. So a lot of the times we like slept in our car because we couldn't really afford it, which is like, there's something so
it's
like
so
fun.
rom-com though. This is giving rom-com, and I'm here for it though. This is like one of those situations it's like Lizzie McGuire. Like you go abroad and you meet this like foreign man and you fall in love for a summer or something and then like it swept off your feet, but I want to hear the ending of this story.
Yeah, so anyways, I mean, the ending is like I think Francois, in my life, like accomplished a pretty significant purpose. And then our study abroad was up, and so he moved to Belgium and I moved back to Chicago, and we're still Facebook friends. So like when the US was playing Belgium in the World Cup, I like messaged him and took a picture of like a bar and was like, what's happening by you? But he was just such a really beautiful, I think it was like he came at just the right time to show me that there were other options available. I went to a college that was 70% women and 30% men, and the men that went there were like, they were not great choices, and they became players because like there was an abundance of women and no men. Yep. I get that. So you're still Facebook friends. That's so freaking cute. So that whole situation just made you question like if the nun life was for you. Yeah. And I think that's kind of iconic. You were like, I was in the Sistine Chapels, or did I say that right? That's like, Chapel. Yeah, iconic, and all in your like early 20s. Yeah. So then where was the moment that it was like, because eventually, like, sorry to pry, but I'm sure you talk about it. But like, so when was the moment where you're like, I need to lose my virginity? Like, where did we go from 0 to 60? That didn't come for a minute, but where did we go? How did you start making anal shooters? That's the question. We want the through line. So it's really funny because I was so, when you're raised with religion or with a guidance or of some sort, like you're either going to really embrace it or you're going to rebel from it, like you were talking about, right? And so I really embraced it. As I began to travel more and have more encounters in life, my viewpoint expanded a little bit, and I became much more open-minded. And it became to the point where I was like, I wouldn't say like I've ever lost my faith, because I think that my faith is stronger than ever. But I think that it's hard because like when I hear stories about your situation growing up, it hurts my heart so much because there's so many people that are representative of faith that don't actually participate or believe or aren't really true figures about what the faith is. And that's so hard to hear because like, especially abusive situations, like that's obviously not part of any faith. Like no faith would say any of that is okay. Yeah. And so it's a very sad for me to hear that, It's every person has a story, No, totally. And you either rise above or you sort of become that person. Yeah. And so I definitely was not going to be a child beater. But what's so beautiful about that too is that caused you to question like yourself, right? What you believe, what you want to believe, the person that you want to be. And so many people live their life at such a young age. Literally, exactly. I was like 12 years old. Exactly. And was like, okay, like there's something here. But in that, I also was questioning so many other things too, and brought us here today. Yeah. And I think no matter what age that you're at, you can approach all of these topics at an angle, at a maturity wise. Like I have godchildren, and I'm like putting a presentation for them together about cannabis, and godchildren when they're older, and pull them aside and be like, here's a condom. You know what I mean? Yeah, no, it's important. So it's just the support and like just the openness of like, well, let's talk about it, destigmatize it. And I feel like that's just like exactly what you did, I feel like. Yeah, totally. And so like when I decided not to become a nun, no Francois, moved back to the States, like I didn't know anything about sex. So I like would take webinars. Like I would do like online. Yeah, totally. How'd you find the webinars? You just Google it. Like sex webinars. 100%. And or there's in-person ones too. Like at the Pleasure Chest in LA, they have in-person like. Oh my God, I love that. Yeah, which is so funny. It's so fun because it's like all of a sudden I started taking all of these webinars and I suddenly had like a wealth of knowledge about sex, which is super fun because it was like I was literally the innocent virgin that I was prepared to never have sex ever. So you had all this knowledge, but you still weren't participating in sex yet too? At that point I was. Okay. So at that point I had a long-term boyfriend and I decided to become sexually active.
Yes.
And
did he knew you were a virgin?
He was too.
Oh, shut up. How did you meet?
You know what's so funny is our first position was doggy style.
Okay.
Because when you're a virgin, you don't really know. And like he entered me and I'm on all fours. And I remember looking back at him because he just entered me and then stopped. And I was like, I think like you're supposed to move or something. Like something's supposed to happen.
Had he not really like seen porn?
I mean, I guess not. I guess not. I mean, but also when you do it yourself for the first time, it's so different than porn.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
exactly.
It's so awkward. And honestly, like losing your virginity to somebody that's also a virgin is like the most delightful thing because you both have no idea. And so it's like
that sounds
you have
amazing.
you have no expectation. They have no expectation. Like
Yeah.
I think you're supposed to. Something's supposed to happen.
Yeah, it's supposed to feel good, right?
I mean, yeah, it's something. It's supposed to movement of some sort.
And why was he a virgin? He just.
He had a girlfriend in high school that died. So he had like trauma associated with that, obviously. And so he really took him. We worked together. So I think it was like, we saw each other every day.
So you guys were
for
friends
months and
first.
months. Exactly.
I love a good friends turned boyfriend girlfriend story.
That is honestly the best because you always feel comfortable around that person, which I think in a sexual experience is really important.
Yeah.
And especially having a good sexual experience, like the more comfortable you are, the better.
So then after you had your first time, is that when you were like, I should research more? Or did time go by and you were like, this could be better?
Yeah, kind of. Then I had a pretty long-term partner and we had a really terrible sex life. And I was like, I didn't quite understand why we had such a bad sex life.
After this guy?
After this guy,
okay.
yeah. After the
virgin.
After the virgin.
That's sweet though.
After the doggy style. It's just so funny because most people's first position is like missionary.
Yeah.
And mine's a doggy, which is like not that you don't really hear that too often. But yeah, so then I had a long-term partner, and he turned out to be a sex addict and had hundreds of affairs. And I was like, I couldn't really understand why this happened and whatever. And so that's when I started to really dive deep into sexual education.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a really fucked up situation. It's really fascinating because he actually was on fetish websites and would go by like a different name.
Of course.
On the fetish websites, and like I found. I got a phone, that's what it was, is I checked his voicemail, nothing. I checked his deleted messages, and then I found a voicemail. It's always the deleted. If you're going to be shady, delete the delete.
Yes, no, literally, you have to take it one, like, because now, I didn't know before, not that I did anything shady, but I didn't know for a long time that there was on the iPhones, busted. And I was like, oh no. And so I delete things now just to save memory space, but I was like, damn, if I was a shady bitch, I would have been busted.
You would have been so busted.
Oh my God. So you heard the voicemails and it was like women were like,
yeah, no, I
can't wait to peg you Friday night.
I heard a voicemail from a girl named Mary, and she said that she was drunk and that she was calling to see how his cock was. Was it good? Because I wish it was in my mouth right now.
Oh my God.
And I was like, is it good? Like, that's not even good sex talk.
Yeah.
And then I ended up calling her, and she sent me pictures and videos, and it was like his whole life just cracked open. Like I got access to his life. But when there's some kind of infidelity, it really is the person that had infidelity done to them. They kind of think that there's something wrong with them.
Yes.
Right? Like I didn't think, oh, he's a sex addict. He was a sex addict before me. He currently is married, has 2 kids. He got someone pregnant while we were still married.
Shut up.
And then
married? You guys got married?
Yeah, got married, yeah. Yeah. And
no,
Katie! Pregnant while we were married. Yep. He's married to her now. And so I rejoined the fetish website maybe a year or 2 ago, and found he's still on the fetish website. He's still a sex addict. He's still cheating on her. She just doesn't know. Or maybe she does know. I don't know. But
damn.
But I thought it was me, right? So I thought maybe there was something that I was inadequate in some way sexually. So that's part of the reason why I started taking all these webinars and tutorials, is because I was like, well,
everything happens for a reason.
What the fuck? Yeah. And so what's beautiful about that is because then I gained a ton of knowledge. I became very knowledgeable about sex.
Yes.
And then I just, invented this product that enhances women's sexual experience.
Yes.
Times 100. So it's like everything does happen for a reason.
Oh my God. Okay. So I know you got all this knowledge, but then what made you be like, I'm going to start a business off of this? Like, I know you were obviously like passionate about it. Did you have another job? Is this like your full-time thing now? Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, for sure. So I was bartending at the time.
Okay.
And I thought I would I really love cannabis. I love making cocktails as well. I love mixology. And so I love it's like cooking, but easier and more fun.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's definitely a better outcome with alcohol.
Yeah. And so I was making these cocktails and I was adding THC to the cocktails. And they were incredible. I mean, that you get very intoxicated all of the ways when you do that. But I was like, oh my gosh, maybe I'll make like a THC infused margarita. And then I realized that that's super illegal. Like there's 4 different laws that say you can't sell alcohol in the same premise that you sell cannabis.
Okay.
And I was like, well, maybe I'll make
really?
it without. Oh yeah. And that's why there aren't any alcohol and THC beverages.
Yo, that's wild, because I just went to a 420 party and people were like, where's alcohol? And they're like, oh no, like just tea.
Yeah.
And we were like, okay. Like no one really cared because there was, tons of pot, but.
Was there consumption?
Yes.
Yeah, that's why they can't. It's literally like 4 different laws that they would be breaking.
Wow, the more you know.
Yeah. Well, then I thought, well, maybe I could do like a margarita-inspired, like non-alcoholic cocktail.
Yeah.
Or maybe I can like have the cannabis be like separate, and then they can break it into, I don't know. I tried to like
get around
all of it, and it was like, no, it's hardcore, solid no.
Yeah.
And so then I was like, oh, well, whatever, thinking nothing of it. I was training for my second marathon. I started to make my own balms in my kitchen just for myself, because I was like
What's your sign?
Gemini.
I knew it was
What's yours?
I'm a double Sagittarius with a Gemini rising. But like, I knew, I was like, it's got to be something with personality. Okay, great. Sorry, keep going.
Do you like Geminis or hate? We're very polarizing. People either love
everyone
us or hate
hates
us.
Geminis. I love Geminis. I think the thing is, you got to love them for who they are. Like Geminis are very much like their own person, and they'll sometimes go with they'll go with things, but you can't just like, I don't know, you can't make them be something you want them to, like, you can't manipulate them.
You can't put us in a box.
You just really got to love them for who they are.
I feel like Scorpios and Geminis are the 2 signs that are very polarizing. Like, you either love them or you hate them, and there's like no in between. And you've either, what?
My ex is a Scorpio.
I mean, Scorpios are insane in bed. They're the best sexual partners. I mean, that was a look of somebody that
I would say like he was insane. Like we didn't do anything like crazy, like
No, but just good.
But it was, Did
you ever not orgasm? Was there ever not a completion?
At the beginning, but that's when we were younger. We were together for like over 5 years. You know what I mean? And then you grow up, and then it's like, ooh, oh my God.
But Scorpios typically, and this is just this is a stereotype. What did you say? Sorry.
I said squirting, Scorpio. Anyways.
The Scorpios will keep
Hopefully he won't listen to this and like boost his ego, but he knows, Scorpio. But anyways.
But the thing about Scorpios, so most of them are narcissists, and this is a totally just generalization. Don't be offended if this is you. But like the thing about Scorpios is most of them are narcissists, and it's not necessarily that they want you to come because they want you to feel pleasure. It's that they want to have achieved that success. And so they're willing to do whatever it takes for you to get there, but not for you, for them.
Yeah, it's like a self-pleasure.
100%.
Like, oh, fuck, I got you off.
It's an ego thing. I'm the best.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, my God. Okay, so you were studying all these different things, and then how did we get to the lube?
So then I was making balms in my kitchen, and I was doing a ton of research, and I read that you could use it as to enhance the sexual experience. And I tried it, and I was like, holy shit, that was amazing.
And how many years ago was this?
This was like 5 years ago, 4 years ago, something like that.
So this was still like very like lot of laws and more restrictions.
Oh, yeah. And I was not thinking about starting a cannabis company at that point by any means. I was using coconut oil as my base because coconut oil is really easy to work with. Yes. But the thing is coconut oil for me isn't a great lubricant. Like it almost instantaneously causes yeast infection. It's not great. And so I was literally the next day went to a dispensary to try to find a product that was not coconut oil based that could enhance my sexual experience. And I went to 3 different dispensaries and it didn't exist. Okay. Like the product just didn't exist. And I'm like, but it works, right? Like it's great. Like cannabis and sex are like peas and carrots, any 2 things that go really well together. Like, it's amazing. And so I started making it in my kitchen just for myself because I really like silicone-based lubes. And so I was like enhancing my own silicone lubricant in my kitchen just for myself. And then I was bartending and I was like giving it to people at the bar, like regulars, and giving it to, other employees and stuff like that. And a random stranger walked up to me and was like, "Hey, are you the weed lube girl?" And I was
Shut up, I love that.
Yeah, and I was like, I am. And he's like, can I get some of that? He's like, I'll totally buy it. And as soon as he said, I'll totally buy it, like something in my head clicked. And I was like, if I like it, if I'm giving it to friends of friends and they love it, and this guy wants to buy it.
Strangers are finding you at your workplace to buy it.
That's how you know.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, this is a company that I need to start.
Yeah. So then you just research that, or like how did you just build that? And then is that your full-time thing now?
Now it's my full-time thing, yeah.
Okay.
So basically from there, I decided that I really wanted to have like science and like have a basic, like an understanding of why it works.
Yes.
So I hired a PhD chemist who did all of our formulations. His name is Dr. Paul Lassard, and he's amazing. And he like is the Walter White of weed. He is insane. He does we did 25 different formulations before we launched our product to really make sure like we wanted to test everything. What's really cool is there's a vibrator called the Lioness that has sensors on the side that records the pulsing of the vaginal walls during a sexual experience.
That's crazy.
So it's awesome because you actually have like scientific data based on orgasms. So like this orgasm wasn't quite as intense as this orgasm. And cannabis is a vasodilator, so basically it increases the size of the blood vessels, which increases blood flow. And anytime you have increased blood flow, that's how women have really strong, amazing, intense orgasms. And that's how men get erections. So it's like it totally like makes sense. It's like biology. Like if you're going to have,
it works for women and men.
It does. So what's so fascinating is we always thought that it was just like a placebo effect for the man if he was having sex with a woman. We always thought, oh, that's just like whatever. But after we also hired Dr. Christina Collins, who is like our medical expert, and she's amazing. We were actually having a meeting about it, and she's like, actually, it's interesting because like the way having the increased blood flow increases the pulsing, and we have that in the data, right? Like the data, the charts that show the increased pulsing, and that actually for a man would feel really good. So we always thought like when men said that they had a heightened experience as well, we always thought that it was like just the woman, like they're becoming a legend in bed.
They're excited, so he's excited.
Yeah, but it actually makes sense that it's that she's tightening so much more. The pulsing is so much more intense that it's like he like it's going to feel better for him too.
Yes. Oh my God, the pulse. So is it meant to go in like inside you too?
Yeah,
or just
it's
on
a
the
lubricant.
outside?
So it's a silicone-based lubricant, so it can go everywhere.
Okay.
And what it's going to do is it's going to dilate the blood vessels, which is going to increase the blood flow.
Okay.
The really important thing to remember is that there is an onset time of 15 minutes to a half hour, and that is it's key to success for the product because if you don't leave it on long enough, it's not going to increase the blood flow.
Okay.
It's just like an edible, like it needs that time to kick in.
Digest.
Yeah.
So should I like put it like essentially like inside me too, like 15 to 20 minutes before, like anywhere I want to like come?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, and depending on where you typically orgasm, that's where I would focus more on.
Okay. Oh my God, that's beautiful.
It's
so you
amazing.
did all these different studies, and then when did you officially launch?
We launched September of 2021.
Okay. Oh, wow.
So
it's been a few years already.
Yeah.
Well, a couple of years.
Almost 2 years.
So
in
you
September.
worked on it for a couple years.
We did it in a year and a half of R&D.
Oh my God. Wow. And then you just like kicked ass, and now is it like in dispensary? Like where can people find it?
Yeah. So it's in 130 dispensaries all across the state of California.
Fuck
We're working
yeah.
thanks. We're working on a hemp line so that we can distribute nationwide. And then we are also working on anal shooters, which I'm so excited about.
I need to hear give me all the anal shooter advice, because last season our most like number one requested topic was anal. So like what a great way to like give the people more of what they want. What is an anal shooter and how can we get it?
An anal shooter, well, you can purchase it hopefully in a few months. We're still in R&D. And we like to spend a lot of time in R&D because once we launch a product, we want it to be really like
stand beside it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's like an apparatus that gets the cannabis lubricant up the anus. Can I say anus? I could probably think of a different word.
You could say all of that. Yeah. You can curse like.
Okay, good.
Yes.
So it's, an apparatus to get the lubricant up there. And then it's about 4 to 8 minutes. It takes the cannabis to, essentially get you a little bit of a head high.
Okay.
So it gives you a really amazing head/body high.
Okay.
And so if you're somebody that doesn't typically like anal or doesn't really do anal, or your partner is really well endowed, this product is really great because the cannabis is going to help with that. It's just going to help you mentally be a little bit.
So, okay, you say apparatus. Is it almost kind of like a tampon situation?
It's similar. It's like a hollowed out tampon that has lube in it that you shoot up there.
And then you just, you don't keep it up there.
No, you shoot it up there.
You shoot it up there.
You shoot it up there, and then you just keep it up there. And what's so cool is that you don't really, people are like, do I have to clench? And it's like, you don't really have to, because that's how we don't shit ourselves constantly, is it automatically, there's actually an inner butthole and an outer butthole. There's 2 buttholes.
Oh, wow.
And so it shouldn't really leak out either. So, I mean, I've never had that experience. Maybe it could a little bit, but.
Okay.
So
you just personally you're in the R&D.
Yeah.
You personally test them. And do you have other people test them too?
Yeah.
And how do you find those people?
So mostly it's friends.
Okay.
Or it's people that.
Do they sign a waiver and stuff?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. It's the beta testing group. And basically I ask for we ask that it's if they're going to use it with a sexual partner, that they use it with a sexual partner that they've been with for a while.
Okay.
Because when you have new sexual partners, we try to control all of the different factors. There's so many different factors that go into a sexual experience.
Yes.
And it's really hard to be okay, this is, to take away all of those other factors and just have the only difference is the lubricant.
Yes.
So that's why it helps if you've had sex with that partner for a while, because then you know what it's like, and then if this enhanced it, how it enhanced it, and things like that. For the anal shooters, it's interesting because a lot of people were very willing to try the lube, and the anal shooters people were super fascinated with, but we had to coax a little bit more into being
a lot of factors going on there.
Yes.
So do you recommend people clean out and use it, or can you just
So it depends really. It depends on kind of if this is your first anal experience time.
Yes.
So what I like to do is I never really clean anything out. I just make sure to poop.
Yes.
Very soon before I'm about to have sex, because I feel for me that's enough. I don't really need to do anything else. But it also depends on kind of who you are, what your partner, if it's a partner, a long-term partner, your comfortability.
Yes, exactly. And so was this requested, or is this something that you personally were I think the people will love this?
Kind of both. I think that anal sex is still very taboo. They say that there's about 33 to 45% of people, men and women, participate in anal sex, which I think is
That's
really
a huge number, though.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think that there isn't. It's kind of one of those things that anal can be very pleasurable for a lot of women. And it's kind of one of those things that I have a lot of girlfriends who take one for the team and don't really enjoy it, but do it if it's a birthday.
That's me. But okay, the problem is people I've had anal sex with, they don't use lube. They just try to literally
that's super dangerous.
ram
for
it
you.
in my ass.
No, that's super, nope.
Like
That's
the
a no.
last time I had anal sex, I literally like had to cancel work for like 2 days.
Oh,
I like
no.
literally like below the waist, like was literally like suffering.
Yeah.
Like suffering. And then another time it happened to me, I was in high school and I like couldn't sit, like it hurt so bad. And my mom asked me why I was sitting so weird. And I told her I fell down the stairs.
Oh my gosh. I love that so much.
I needed an anal shooter, Katie.
You did. So here's what I can say about anal. And the thing is like you can actually really hurt yourself if you don't use lubricant, and like spit is not a valid form of lubrication.
Okay.
Because you can actually really hurt yourself to the point that you can
Like a tear or
and like
okay.
never properly able to poop again, like shit yourself. Like it's actually not to be dramatic, but it actually is really serious.
It is dramatic.
Like you really want to make sure that you use not only lube, but like a silicone-based lube.
Okay.
Because silicone is waterproof and really long-lasting. Like water-based lubes get absorbed by the air, so like you have to reapply them. That's why water-based lubes are great and they feel great. And if you're using it to masturbate or using it vaginally where it will like continue to moisturize, you're fine. Okay. But anally speaking, like you shouldn't use water-based. You should only use silicone, in my personal opinion.
Okay.
And you can use an oil-based as well. That will be really
know.
long-lasting, but oil-based is not condom compatible.
Okay.
Which is also very important to know.
Okay.
So there, I think kind of what I talked about before. So there's two buttholes, right? There's an inner and there's an outer. And so where people make a lot of their mistakes anally is that they will penetrate the outer butthole
And go like really slow.
And
then ram it.
And what's the problem is that your inner butthole is clenched so tight, and your
so
outer
happy
one
you're here.
Thanks. And your outer one, yes, they've taken the time, but it's still like they can't get in. That's why they ram it, and that's why it's so painful most of the time. So what I recommend doing is that for anal, it's so important that you are in control of the motion, especially when it starts.
Okay.
And maybe at certain positions you're not in control, you're receiving, right? But it's so important to go so slow in the beginning because it really, you need the inner butthole to be able to relax.
Okay.
And the problem is if you feel like there's going to be any kind of jamming at all, you're going to tense up. And so that's why.
Story.
Yeah. And so that's why, like, if you're doing doggy style is great anally because you're in control. You have your partner not move.
Really?
And then you're in control of the motion you go, of how quickly you go, of how, and honestly, sometimes it could be like a millimeter of movement.
Okay.
Or no movement at all, but just you taking those deep breaths to relax.
Okay.
And to open up. And it's also about trust, right? Because you have to be with a partner that you're going to trust isn't going to be, because in porn, see, and this is where men get a lot of their education, especially about anal, is in porn. And in porn, they show it ramming and hard and hard and hard. But like, I have so many porn stars that I'm friends with that they spend 3 hours before that scene preparing to be rammed, to pretend like this is the first thing that's entered their ass, when that's not. They've had butt plugs, they've had massages, they've had all the things, and it's unpleasant. Like, they don't receive pleasure from that, but they receive a lot more money to do anal and aggressive anal. So it's like, it's really important to know that, right?
Yes.
And to have a partner that you trust that isn't going to go from 0 to 60.
Oh my God. Woof. I feel like I just learned so much. So the anal shooters are going to come out in a few months. So we'll keep an eye on those.
Yeah. I'll send you some.
Thank you. And I will definitely try it. But
you can even try it solo. If it's something you're interested in, you can use it vaginally too. It's like the apparatus. And you don't have to. If that's in your, I think it's really important to know.
I think if I tried the anal shooters, I would want to try it with somebody.
Totally. And there's also, like, if your partner is too well endowed, probably not a good fit.
Okay.
Right? Because that, again, you don't want to be punished and feel like you can't sit for 2 days.
Yes. And like bleeding out of my asshole.
And bleeding is really bad. If you're bleeding at all, that means you didn't use enough lubricant. Something tore.
Oh, definitely bleeding. So like, what does that mean for my future?
Well, I mean, it's fine. If you're not pooping yourself, you're fine. You know pretty immediately if you've done something. And you can also get surgery to correct it. So it's like not a lifetime situation, but just next time use so much lube you didn't even know.
I'm going to wait till the anal shooters come out.
Amen. There you go.
Beautiful. Oh my God. Wow.
Then you can get high and have anal sex.
And are the hemp products going to come out with like around the same time, or are they already out?
June or July is when the hemp products are going to hit the market too. We're going to do a hemp anal shooter as well.
Okay.
So you can get it in places that you cannot outside of the state of California.
Do you like think the hemp is as strong as the cannabis, or is it a little bit more mild?
So it's a little bit more mild, so we're adding more hemp to kind of make up the difference. Technology is amazing, and we have discovered a way in which we can use a hemp product and still get you a psychoactive high.
Oh, yay!
Which is super exciting. We're also working on before sex gummies and after sex gummies.
Oh my God, you really like have like you're doing it all. So right now, is it just the lube that you have out?
It's just currently the lube in the state of California, but there's a lot of expansion.
A ton of things coming. Oh my God, we had you on at the right time.
Yeah.
Yay. And I think by the time, this is like a month, we'll be super close to like the launches.
Yeah.
Yay. Oh my God, is there anything else? So the gummies are what?
They're before sex gummies.
Okay.
And then we also have after sex gummies. So
and
the
what are those
before sex gummies are going to get you really excited and get you like in the mood. And then the
those
after
have cannabis?
They do have cannabis, yeah. Okay. And then after they have like horny goat weed and supplements that are going to be vasodilators as well. That's going to get the blood flowing. And then our after sex gummies are awesome. It basically has melatonin, valerian root, CBN. It's going to put you to sleep.
Oh my God, that's
so it's like
beautiful.
Before is going to get you horny. The after is going to put you to sleep.
Oh my God, I love this. Wow, you just have such an incredible and unique story. And thank you so much for sharing with us. Is there anything else that you think the people should know? Because I know you know, or I know you said earlier you want it to make everybody feel included. Yeah. Men, women, people of all genders. And I love that because we were saying off camera, taboo subject, sex, taboo subject, cannabis. And then when you have them together, it's even crazier. So do you have like a message for men and women in general? Like what do you have to say to the people in terms of like have a good time or just...
Yeah, so our company motto is live life to the climax.
Ooh, yes.
And I love that because it means something different to everybody. Okay. You know, your living life to the climax could be, you know, reading a book that you haven't had a chance to read, taking a bath, taking a hike. Like it means something different to everybody, and that's what I love about it. We just want to empower you to have the best possible life you can have and the best sex life.
Oh my God, I love that. Wow, and I can't believe you did that all in like a few years. It's just, again, 0 to 60. We love that.
Gemini baby.
Yes. No, literally. And with the red hair, if you are listening and you need to like see Katie, go to our YouTube channel and check out the red hair. You know, we love a red hair bad bitch in this house. So
Amen.
Double the trouble, right?
Amen.
Oh my God. And where can everybody find you? Plug everything.
So my personal Instagram is _Katie_Enright. Lavinia's Instagram is O.Lavinia, O.Lavinia, Lavinia. And then our website is olavinia.com. We do have a newsletter on our website that you can sign up for. So as soon as we start to launch these new products, we will
I will
send out a blast.
Yeah, I'm ready. Oh my God. Well, thank you so much for coming on today.
Thanks for having me.
So that concludes today's episode of Stoned and Horny. Thank you so much for listening. Remember, if you want a chance to join the conversation, to follow us on Instagram at Stoned and Horny Podcast and leave a comment. Don't forget to follow us on all our socials to stay updated with the Stoned and Horny news. And just a reminder, you guys, I started a TikTok, but you know the TikTok laws. So it's still Stoned and Horny Podcast, but you have to make the O's zeros. Other than that, it's that, you know, so stoned, ST0NED, you know, you guys get the picture. So make sure you're following us on TikTok. I just have to say this because right now we have like quite a male following on TikTok, and I am on the wrong side of TikTok. You guys need to pull us out, okay? I need your help. Women, go to the TikTok page. My name is Hayley Herms, and I'll see you guys on next week's episode. Stay stoned and stay horny. Bye.